So yeah, so I suppose it's good. Let's just jump in because it'll be good to that people can catch up. So tonight we're going to discuss time, and I suppose like all of us are so conscious of time and the importance of time, and almost like our lives are dictated by the clock and yesterday and today and tomorrow and so many people get stuck in the past and then they kind of are unable to move forward and and there's so much out there around about the importance of being present in the moment, as if once you can tune into the presence of the moment then everything will fall into place beautifully. And I suppose at a level it does, but it just shows how people struggle with the concept of time. And from a systemic point of view, they really foreground time. Like time is almost like kind of grounds the four orders of belonging, place, and exchange. So it's always through a filter of what's happened in the past and what's happening now and what happens in the future. So even though maybe a place to start the four orders might even be time, because it's somehow it like speaks so powerfully to the kind of work we do and the way we pay attention to dynamics and relationships and situations. We always take time, whether it's who comes first into the system, to who was left, who was not included in the past, and which people in the present are making up for people that are being excluded in the past, and what needs to be taken into account as we move into the future. And so there's these three kind of past, present, future, and I suppose it's like a continuum. And so I suppose just to jump right in and to really get like a felt sense of time. So with ECL, we always talk about the four ways of knowing, like through your head, like what's going on in the way you think, through your heart, like what's going on in your heart, and through your body. And when those three are aligned, something happens and intuition opens up. And then we almost like open up into a whole nother level of knowing by combining those three spaces. So even as you're sitting right now in this present moment, listening to my voice as I'm broadcasting from Troyville in Johannesburg, and this is the moment, and you just connect with what all the gurus say, you must tune into the moment of now. And it's so fleeting that as you hear it, it's already past. And as you imagine it in the future, it's already here. So it's such a snippet of existence, the moment, this moment. But something certainly does happen when we allow ourselves to connect with this present moment and leave the future and the past, and we just go narrow into this moment. So even as I'm talking, I want you to just become aware of this moment. And as you do that, you become aware of your presence. Because you can only be present to yourself, in a sense, in the moment. So as you connect with the present, something happens about becoming present and feeling presence. So presence itself is a tangible expression of our human existence, presence. And so when we just drop into our feet and become present to our feet, we become present to the sensations of our body. And you take your time and really try to notice what's going on in your feet. The immediacy of the experience. Because so many people find it easier to just imagine their feet in a way. But I don't want you to imagine where your feet are. Just go right to the immediacy of the experience of being in your feet. And the immediacy of the cold or the warmth or the sweaty or the whatever. And just see what you find there. and come with curiosity. And then slowly walk up your way to your calves and your knees and your thighs and your legs. Like, listen for them. Like as if, sometimes in the middle of the night you hear a sound and you get a fright and you listen and listen so intently. So bring that same kind of listening to what's going on inside you. And notice your breathing. Like, narrow your focus of attention down to the sensations in your tummy. And then almost every inch of your body, every cell becomes like this awareness antenna. Like, what is your body saying? Like, how do you know through your body? Like, I know I'm safe right now. I know I'm comfortable. I know I want to be here. My body tells me that. And then with an intention, we shift to our emotional world, our feeling center, whether we identify that as being our heart or not, doesn't matter. It's just we make the intention to discover what's going on at an emotional level in our experience. And up to now, I haven't been aware of the sadness that I'm carrying in my heart. And all of a sudden, I touch that. Now, I'm able to touch it because I'm in my body. So I find a place in my heart of a kind of sadness. So just invite whatever emotion exists there to reveal itself. And sometimes you might even be able to describe your heart in a different way. You might realize you've got a shattered heart tonight, or a dead heart, or even an ecstatic heart. You just allow your heart to come alive. And sometimes I breathe into my chest and it makes it more. And then I remember that my heart is supported by my body. And then lastly, my brain, my head, my thinking. So I notice there, like, oh, what's up? And even as I enter my head and my thinking, I can look around the room where I'm sitting. And I just notice what catches my brain's attention. And when I see that, whatever catches my attention, I just notice that my brain comes alive and comes on circuit and starts being activated. And then in my imagination, I can somehow align those three, my brain and my heart and my body. And as they get into alignment, maybe some level of intuition comes on board, like a sense of the rightness of something, or like the aha, or just simply, yeah, it's all good. It's sad, but it's good. I'm confused, but it's not so bad. Even might find some physical pain. It's kind of bearable when I include more of myself. So there we go. So that's the ways of knowing. And I want you to remember this because we're going to kind of use it tonight. So I don't know if you want to do a check-in a little bit. There's only 4 of us, so that's always nice. So I don't know if you want to just do a quick check-in. So my check-in, what I want to bring to the group is it's a sadness I feel for a client who's struggling with the death of a brother from COVID, and then the parents went to hospital, and yesterday or last night she WhatsApped me and reached out and said my mom has just passed. So the sadness of connecting with her sadness and allowing myself to hold that grief a little bit, knowing that she's carrying so much, makes me connect with the sadness of that. And so that's what I check in with, I think. And I hold that, and I hold her, and I hold the family. And it's good to know that I can say that with a group of people that are connected, and they have a capacity to share that a little bit. So I'll check in with that sense. That's me. So I don't know if someone wants to just pop. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think as you were doing the exercise, I think I'm too full at the moment, so physically I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun tummy.
So a lot of water, a lot of hot water that I drank after eating. But as on a personal level, I guess I'm feeling there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. As the Japanese say, too many minds. There's so much that it's in the creative phase at the moment. That's quite exciting. So I have to calm myself down and just put things into compartments. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling content.
No, good. Welcome. It's nice to hear your voice. So if you feel that, yeah, good, yeah, nice.
I interrupted you. Finish what you were saying.
No, it's good. Go for it.
Okay. Well, this morning I finally got a chance to watch the video from last time, and I was filled with such a sense of you as a facilitator, Ray, and how amazing you are, and how you take all these concepts and just have a deep but simple and accessible way, and just really appreciate, like, I was looking so forward to coming today because I was like, he's just so wonderful. And then, you're sharing about how you're able to, in such authentic way, like share the holding that, that has come into your field, which is a big, difficult holding, about this woman and her grief. And yet in that, I still, I'm so happy to see you, and Heaven and Reggie and Heidi. I saw you from the last time too. So I'm feeling really happy to be here. And 5 people is a perfect number for me right now.
Yes.
Sorry.
So true. So true. Yeah.
So that's my check-in.
Sorry.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So lovely. I'll take it. Yeah. To my heart. Oh.
I'll go. Yeah, I agree with you.
I'll go next. Oh, okay.
You do have a way, Raymond. It's amazing. So I actually haven't had a chance to feel for the last couple of days. My husband and son were both sick, snotty, flu, whatever. But there's always that little thing in the background. Is it or isn't it, you know? And of course, I was giving my all to them, forgot about myself, and I got sick on Sunday. And I threw everything I had at myself. And so, yeah, I didn't feel. I haven't had a chance to feel because I couldn't lie in bed. I had to keep going. And then my domestic also got sick, and I rely heavily on her. So I've been taking care of her too. But I'm on the mend and I feel great. So I connected with that sadness that you brought, Raymond. We lost one of the mothers in my son's class. So it's a 14-year-old boy without a mother, and it's heartbreaking. And then somebody else I know died. She had a 3-year-old boy. She wasn't close, but you know, when you connect with somebody, there was that connection. So thank you for creating this space so I can let go of the sadness, because I didn't know I was carrying it. You allowed me to feel through my body and find it and connect with it. And thank you.
Just maybe before you go, Heaven, just give it a moment. Hey, it's a big one. Yeah, just even notice how when you do connect with your head, heart, and gut, you are able to somehow steady yourself in all of that. Like you're drawing on all your resources. And then there's a little bit of a breath, a little bit of breathing. It can happen.
I stopped breathing for a moment,
No.
and then suddenly the breath came back, and took a few deep breaths, and I'm back in my body.
Nice. Yeah. Yes, it's good. So, Heaven, on your side, how things would you like to check in? How was it for you to do the exercise? I see you're a bit frozen up, struggling with data. So if you want to put your camera off, that might help a bit.
Yeah. Can I check in or?
Yeah, go for it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so this week has been, well, last week has been good. Raymond and I met up with some colleagues, I'm going to say. We're endeavoring into a new kind of opportunity at a new school. So we met up, discussed our various like projects, us as ECL, some as part of Constellations, and we're looking forward to creating something to present to a school, maybe as a model for workshops. So that was exciting. Yeah, very exciting. And the numbers today are a little bit disappointing, but I'm glad to see Heidi. Yeah, it's nice to see that you have attended. Thank you. Yeah, that's my check-in. Other than that, I'm good. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So welcome. It's really good to have everyone like here. So, time. So maybe just to tell you a story, like how I've used this concept of time. So, you know, when you're trying to motivate learners, especially matriculants, to understand that in January, they've only got about 6 or 7 months before they write their final exams. And they're still in kind of shock when they arrive. The fact that school's about to begin and they've got this horrendous year in front of themselves. And so my sister was a school principal in the school, KwaZulu-Natal, down in the Eastern Cape. And so she asked me to come and do some work with the matriculants to like just motivate them, inspire them for the year, get them a sense of what it's all about. And so what I asked them to do was to stand on one end of the hall. And I said to them, and there must have been about 60 kids, and they were all like, well, you know, after they're all like restless and giggly and shy and everything. And I said to them, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to walk into your futures. We're going to explore what it feels like to step into your future. And I said, you're going to need to do it slowly because this future's got months. So you've got like January, February, March, April, May. And so every time you take a step or a few steps forward, you'll be stepping into the next month. And obviously this is completely new to them. So there was a lot of like shyness and giggle. And I said, you must start walking when you feel that you're ready to step into your future. So I said, only at that point, you'll know that it's time. So you might have to just stay in the present for a little bit. And if you find that you can't step into your future, then maybe just imagine where you've come from a little bit. And then when you feel ready, now it's time for me to step into my future, which is my academic year. And then just step into your future. And then slowly, one or two brave girls, always the girls are always leading, they stepped forward. And then very slowly, others followed. And then just gently but gently, more and more stepped forward into their future, into the beginning of the academic year. And then just slowly, they took more steps, and then people started finding their own rhythm. So some people walked a little bit more faster. Some people walked a couple of steps and then stopped, and then would sit, and then a little bit more. And the more they stepped into the future, and the more they saw their friends were doing it as well, and the more they took it more seriously almost. And so slowly, it was actually beautiful that they took at least about 6 or 7 minutes till eventually the whole group was in the front. And then when we got to the future, it was so beautiful because they were all standing in the front of the hall. And I said, so what's it like to be in your future? And this one girl just started clapping spontaneously. And they cheered themselves. And it was so beautiful because all of a sudden, from this scared group of people that had no expectation, no understanding, all full of fear, they were able to go through this system, and then they got to their future, and they could feel that they had made it. And a very big part of the learning was that they made it together, that they had gone on this journey, and that they were in their future together. And they were able to, and when this girl clapped, everybody like cheered, and it was like such a spontaneous expression of this kind of joy. And so it was a beautiful way of exploring this idea of time, like stepping into your future from where you are, the confusion. And so that got me thinking about how to use that even tonight. So my thought is, even in our bodies, as we connect to a problem or a challenge that we're currently facing, or something that's bothering us. And so even as you're sitting there and you just allow yourself to become present in the moment, this thing that's in your mind. So like even Reggie, you were talking about at the moment, there's so much going on in your world. It's so hectic. So maybe that's the challenge. That's the problem. And so you like say, okay, that's it. So you identify an issue or a question that you're holding that right now feels almost completely, it's crazy, it's hectic. It's something you want. It's also something that you want some kind of insights about. So when you got that, that's in a way, it's going to be your kind of inquiry tonight. And so when you step into the present moment, so what I'm going to ask you to do is just make the intention in your heart that somehow you like to know something about what you need to do, or how you need to respond, or how you need to feel, or whatever you need to be able to work with this issue. And then when you've got it, I'm going to ask you just now, we're going to stand up. And then I want you to find a place, it could be in front of your computer or somewhere else, but to find a place where you really identify that this is the present. This is where I'm currently with this issue. And then when you've got that, and we're just going to allow ourselves to experience it in our head, heart, and guts. And then move into the back and then forward. But we'll do it together, and we'll work through it. So if you're ready, and if you want to, you can stand up. Now maybe this is better if I do this. I never know where. Is it better? Just stand like it. Wait. So there you go. All right, okay. So I'm standing. So if you allow yourself to recognize, okay, this is my present. This is right where I'm at, where I'm actually in the problem. So you just notice what happens to you when you allow yourself to be in the present with the challenge or the problem you're facing. And you tune into your body, like, how's my body feeling? Am I light? Am I heavy? And sometimes it's also helpful just to notice as you're standing in your body, like what do you notice in the room? And what is your mind drawn to as you stand in your present problem? And really take your time so that you can notice exactly everything that's going on. So notice your body sensations. And then notice how you feel about it. What's going on in your heart? You might even just notice a numbness. And then notice how your thinking is as you stand in your problem. So you're not trying to solve it. All you're doing is experiencing how you're responding at your heart, your body, your thinking to your particular challenge. And the thing with challenges and problems, they always start somewhere. Like in the present moment, when you've identified a problem, it's not that the problem is here in the present. It's always had an origin. So when you're ready, I want you to go find a place where the problem started. So even if it just means you're taking one step backwards into the past to get a sense of what the problem feels like when you go back into the past. And I suppose the first part is literally to let yourself find your place in the past. So take your time, find that place. And now when you're standing in the past of the problem, just notice what changes in your body, how you physically respond to the changes. Then as you do that, you allow your heart to come on board and find out how your heart feels about the problem. And then as you come on to your mind, you might look around the room, and your mind might find a focus or an object in the room that that draws and makes you think about something. And just notice that. And then if you stand in your problem from the past, some insight might emerge, some intuition or not, it doesn't matter. But most importantly, just be there in the problem where it began. And then when you're ready, I want you to step back into your present. So wherever that was, just take a moment and step back into your present. And then notice if there's been a change. Maybe your body feels different. Might feel a bit more balanced or less balanced. Heavier, lighter. And check in with your heart, what's going on in there. And then look around the room as well. Just let your brain focus on something or not. And now when you're ready, allow yourself to connect with that next movement of stepping into the future. That time in the future when the problem will find a solution. Or that time in the future when the problem will be resolved in the best possible way. And recognizing that there's a wisdom in the universe, a connectedness, a desire for our well-being. So when we step into the future welcomes us with a solution or with a movement or with an offering. So when you really feel ready to step into that future, and you'll feel it in your body, it'll almost feel as if you're ready. And you'll feel your leg lifting up and placing it into the future. So when you're ready, I want you to step into your future. Amen. And now take your time, because now this is a completely new place. You've never been here before. You don't know how to be here because you've never been here before. So you need to take your time so your body can learn how to be in this place of the future. So let your legs, your arms, everything get used to it. Ah. And then notice your heart. How does your heart respond to being in the future? And then even your thinking. Look around, you might notice different things or the same thing and see it in a different way. And if you want to step even further into your future by taking another step to see if anything changes, feel free. And then if you want to and you feel ready, you could kind of turn around and just maybe look at from where you've come, from where you've traveled, from the past to the present, and see the distance between yourself and the problem. And then just feel in your body what your body wants to do when it looks at that place that you've come from, and how your body wants to respond to it, and how your heart wants to respond. And when you're kind of ready, and you've gathered up everything that you've needed to gather up in the future, all the insights, all the feelings, the sensations, and then slowly return back into the present. Just slowly bring yourself back into the present and stand in that present point again. And just notice if anything's changed, that you stand now in the present and you hold your problem or your challenge. And then turn into your body. Like, how does it feel now to stand in the present and hold your problem? How does your body respond to the problem? What does your body know about the problem? And when you tune into your heart, your emotional level, that world, what is your heart saying? And then lastly, your mind. Like, so what is your mind thinking about it? Is it supported by your body and your heart? What does your mind say? How does it understand it? Yeah. And when you're ready, then maybe just come back into the group again. You see everybody else has been on this little journey, all 5 of us. Oh, I'm not sharing anything. There we go. So welcome. So I'm curious, how did it go? What happened? What can we learn from your experience? Like, what can you teach us from your experience?
Sure. That was amazing, Ray.
Yeah. It's good to connect a little bit. So for me, when I went through I was holding this family, this client who's who's in grief and mourning. And I stood in the presence and I held that challenge, that problem. And what I noticed was my heart was numb. And then it was quite interesting when I stepped into where the problem started. I remembered my dad and the fact that my dad's gone. And then I can feel the pain and the sadness and the missing of my dad. So it was like, oh, okay, this is what I know, this feeling. And when I stood into the future, it was beautiful. My old, very cluttered little office come laundry come storeroom looked like a cathedral. It was beautiful. It was like a cathedral. It was really beautiful. It was like when you go into an old church, those huge churches like Notre Dame, and you just stand there and you just look up at the expansiveness and the decorations and the tainted windows, and you have that, this is so, and you feel your smallness looking at the cathedral. And so that was like just stepping into my future. And so coming back into the present and looking at where I need to be, or it's just like a sense of just ground, just be, just, you don't have to do anything. It's just the intention of honoring what she's going through, really honoring it is actually good. And as I say it now, I get it. It's about honoring it. And just really honoring it. Simply, it's a simple solution to a very complicated problem that kind of lands in my heart, and it's like kind of true. So that was my little journey. So I'm very curious now about everybody else.
Yeah, I'll go. For me, standing in the present and looking around, and there's a lot that's happening in this room in terms of books and material and all sorts of things. And, I suddenly felt so heavy because it actually reflects the state of my mind at the moment. There's a hell of a lot that's happening. And I'm trying to weave through that and find my way. And I was beginning to feel a bit overwhelmed. It was quite scary. I wasn't feeling overwhelmed sitting down, but the minute I stood up and looked around, I felt overwhelmed a bit. And then stepping back to my past, now I felt a bit of it was just too heavy. I felt a little bit of a lump in my throat, because where it took me, all that is happening, a lot that is happening, that is on my plate. It took me to a place where the last few years I've just trying to find myself again. Because for a while I felt as if I have lost myself. So, and it wasn't a very comfortable place. It was a bit, it was just too heavy for me. But the minute you said just look around for an object around the room, and I looked at, there's a piece of art in my room, in this room that I'm in, and suddenly that heaviness, I felt a little bit of the heaviness shifting, I felt a little bit lighter, and almost excited and present, and felt like physically, it just felt so good, connecting with that, with that artwork, Yeah, there's something about art that takes me to different places completely. And just moving forward to my future, what I saw is no clutter, more possibilities and clarity. But the creativity there as well, play, much lighter. My body just felt so, it felt so good in my body. But turning around and looking back into the rest of the room, it's almost like it just felt so good that, this is where I come from. This is what I had to weave my way through. This is the wisdom that I'd learned and picked up along the way to get my clarity. And coming back to my present again with all this happening around, I get a feeling of approaching all this with excitement, because there's more, looking at it as possibilities, amazing possibilities, more than something that overwhelms me, with excitement, So yeah.
That's juicy. And when you just use that word weave, I just like kind of, it's such a nice word.
Thank you, Ray.
It's pretty. Sure.
I can share something also. If you'd
That'd be
like.
cool. Yes.
So it's funny because I have two things going on right now. One is a very big, huge project that I've sort of been swooped into, and it's huge. And it's exciting, it's wonderful, but that's not the thing I picked. I also have this one little workshop for women that I've been asked to facilitate in October, and to get a panel of people, and this whole structure. And I went to one meeting or two meetings about it. Yet that was the thing that was really so present in that moment. So I had to really stay true to that. I was really saying, oh, I should pick the big thing. I'm like, but that's okay. It's this thing. And it's funny because when I was in the present, I just felt like my feet were so heavy. I really got into the gestalt body part of it, like my feet were hurting and they were heavy. And it was like, I don't want to move forward. It's been hard to move forward. I'm asking people to join me in this. It's a big issue in my spiritual group about transcending gender stereotypes. And it's, like everyone's interested, but no one wants to be on the panel. It's like, and I just went into my past, and on my mantle, I have these pictures of my mother, my grandmother, and my great grandmother that are all about the same age, when they're all about in their early 20s.
Gosh.
And I keep it there because my grandmother and my great grandmother both survived the pandemic of 1918. So when COVID hit, I kind of put them there because I'm like, whatever happens, they survived, And I turned my back to and then I walked back to them and felt them there. And as I walked back, I felt my feet were not so heavy. Actually, the carpet it's in front of my fireplace, a little thicker. And then I realized that this issue that's coming up in this workshop is the issue of all these women, because they came from England. They were very not stereotypical women at all. Especially my mother was a scientist. My great grandmother, if you look at her, even though she's a Victorian woman from England, doesn't look anything like that. And I was like, oh, okay, this has been in my system because there's a lot of gender fluid people in my system that are all, you know, have been closeted and secret for all these years and even in the present. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is what it comes from. There's not just someone asked me to do this, but it's all in my system. And then I was like, okay, I get it now. I'll just move forward with it. So I moved forward, and into the future, I was looking at this little meditation thing that I have in my living room. And there was a little bowl, and there was five little stone hearts and things. And I just took them out and I put them in a circle. And I was just like, and there was a heart in the middle, and there was five around it. And I said, oh, I already have five people who said yes. That's all I need. I'm fine. I don't know why I'm like stressing about this. You know, five is enough. And then I was like, oh, like the five people on this call.
Yeah.
Oh, like, then I started looking around the room. Oh, this picture has five petals on a flower. Oh, you know, like everywhere I looked. And I'm like, it's enough. It's okay. And then I walked a little bit farther in the future, and there's these two beautiful paintings that my daughter did. They're in a Asian Japanese style, actually. And they were so gentle and delicate. And I'm like, that's what's needed in this, is this sort of softer, gentle, like we can walk into this with safety and gentleness. And when that started to happen, it wasn't heavy, it was sort of lighter. And then I could come back to the present and be like, okay, I can come at this with some lightness and with some sweetness and love. It doesn't have to be this intense, confrontational, heavy thing. So that's where I ended up. Very nice. Thank you, Ray.
Wow, so nice hearing it. Like, I don't know if you all feel it as well. It's such a, it's like a good bedtime story. And then what happened?
And then what happened, right?
Yeah, it was so nice. Thank you. Sure. So lovely. Thanks a lot.
Power of five. That's beautiful. So for me today, I was in communication with one of my husband's staff members who I did an NLP course with. And she was offering to pay for a trauma counseling webinar thing that's happening. I don't know how many speakers and whatever. And my answer to her was, I don't see myself as a trauma counselor. No, thank you. And she said, typical learner doesn't commit. So my question was, why am I afraid to commit? So when I stood up...
Heidi, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. Heaven's leaving us because she's got a really hectic... So just to maybe just to say, Heaven, thank you for coming, and despite your headache that you showed up, thank you.
Feel better.
Cheers. Okay, carry on. Sorry, Heidi.
No problem. So when I stood up, I felt very weak and I wanted to fall over and I had no strength. And then when I stepped into the past, I became, I think I was 5 or 6 years old, sub A, first grade of school. And they picked me to be the mascot for the gold team. So I needed to stand up in front of everybody and cheer the athletes. And it was interesting because these are for rock climbing and you use them to tie in when you clean a route. So they're like your safety net. And they were lying in front of me when I stepped back into the future. So what happened was when I was 5, 6 years old and of course I jumped at the opportunity to be this mascot. I thought, wow, that's cool. I'm going to cheer everybody on. But when the day came, I couldn't step across the line. I couldn't go under this barrier and turn around and face all these people and cheer. So that was quite interesting for me. And then stepping and seeing these, which is a safety. So that was an affirmation that it is okay. It's fine. And I'm starting a jewelry school. We're busy doing a massive renovation, and I'm committing to that. And I know I am. And as I stepped forward, I saw a box high up on the shelf with the name Fordham written on, which is a box for a hand overhanging drill. So I knew that's what I'm committing to, and I can commit. And I felt stronger in my body. And when I turned around and looked back, I felt even stronger. And when I came back here, I didn't have that weakness in my feet anymore. So that was a very interesting journey. Yes. So thank you.
Oh, jeez. It's humbling, hey? It's so humbling. Such a powerful, when you step into the field and we allow the field to support us and invite us into the future, and then the field with such gentleness and such beauty reveals itself to us. What a privilege is that, to be able to actually, thank you. It's like so nice. And you can hear the truth of what people have been saying, because it resonates quite deeply. So maybe just I suppose I need to go. Let me just share a little bit, just to point out a little bit around, if I can find it. Where is it now? OneDrive. Reminders of all sorts of stuff. Let me just close this again. I might have to find it. Why isn't it around? Oh, there it is. Okay, so maybe I'll find it this time. No, why isn't it around? Whiteboard. Interesting. I can't actually locate what I'm looking for when I click on this side. Maybe I'm not supposed to show it to you. What happens? Oh, it's not coming up, so I'm not going to put it up. So it's just the ECL time, place, and you've seen it often. So the whole time arrow is right at the base, and time from the past to the future. And then the questions that it holds, like in the past, has anybody been excluded? What needs to be honored? What needs to be acknowledged? And then stepping into the present is almost like what needs to be included, what needs to be acknowledged. And then stepping into the future is like, is everybody in their right place? Is everybody being acknowledged? And how do we set up the elements for success to happen? So this is such a nice way of actually doing it. And then feeling into it. So it becomes alive, as opposed to this kind of, okay, this is the questions we need to ask and not ask. So it's a lovely tool to actually use, even in a group dynamic, like when you're doing planning or something, and then you let people just step into the future, see what it looks like, and they come back and they report back. Such a lovely way of just engaging. And even in the classroom, as I said, with the matriculants, you can move them into the future and get them motivated by the possibilities and the hope and what they need as well. So often when they bring the lessons, it's a nice question. You can actually ask them to sit in the future and then journal what lessons they learned while they were coming into the future, and what did they need to get here. And so when they come back to the present, then they've got all this information. And so instead of the teacher sitting there trying to explain to them, you need to do this, you need to do that, then the learners go, well, we need to have this structure and we need to really work here. And remember, there's only 8 months that we need to do. And they're all excited because they're generating all this information on their own. And then the teacher, who's been saying these things over and over again for the last 4 years, can't believe their ears, because I didn't realize they were listening to me. So it's actually quite a nice process. So that's my bit for tonight, and I've loved it. It's been so rewarding. I must admit, it's really been rewarding. And I honor you for showing up and sharing your stories and making my story even more achievable by sharing your stories. So that's my checkouts. I don't know if you want to do a quick checkout.
Just thank you so much, Ray. It's like a
Thank you.
breath of warm, loving air around me. So
Standing. Good. Enjoy the time. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, likewise, gratitude. So thankful, Ray. This was quite amazing. I'm just thinking in my head, why do people need therapy? You know?
Can help each other. Exactly. Yeah.
It's been, I'm taking something away with me.
Magic.
And how to approach things in my present moment. So it's been very, very rewarding. Thank you.
Great. Nice. Good.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Raymond. So much gratitude. That was, yeah, it was amazing. It just reaffirms to just really look and see the universe offers affirmations always. If you're choosing the right thing, if I'm choosing the right thing, it will affirm it for me. So thank you for this exercise.
And you're looking great. You look much better. From an hour ago, you really looked like, wow, you've been through the shred.
Oh, really?
Looking
No,
good
I feel lighter.
you look much better.
Yeah.
Look
You
great.
too, your smile has become bigger.
Yeah, I feel good. I must say, I'm glad I did this. It was nice.
I also think that these as recordings are quite wonderful, Ray. So I hope the recording's still on when Heaven left, but if she didn't, I hope that she also posts it too.
Okay.
Because I've been sharing these with people who have not been able to make it. So.
Wow. Okay, good. It'll be a nice one today as well. I think it is recording, so that's great.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Thanks very much, everybody. It was lovely. Okay.
Thank you all.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.